Friends, hello everyone, Vlad here, and today, as you might have guessed, we have a review of CeraMAX 1800 mechanics table. The title is self-explanatory. The table measures 1.8 meters in length and 1 meter in width in the position shown here. This table has the ability to extend its width from 1 meter to 1 meter and 50 centimeters, or each side can partly extend by 250 millimeters. To ensure you can conveniently adjust the size of your table to your needs and the dimensions of the tiles, what comes in a set? First and foremost, there are 3 clamps that can secure the tile in any position. That is, we can avoid moving them, and in the section where we need to secure the tile, insert and accordingly fix all the elements by screwing them in. They have such tips, with rubber inserts to avoid damaging the tiles. This is basic and straightforward. Next, there is a special handle for carrying the cross guide. Which we see in black steel. Because when designing this table, we were guided by the importance of having functionality both for the tiler during work and during transportation, because it's important bulky items should be compact when folded. Therefore, the crossbars, as you can see now in the photo, they are compact and have a very convenient design for transportation, moving in a car or to a site. Yes, that's clear. Next, it's directly multifunctional crossbars. They have decorative screws so that they can be quickly secured in this manner. There are grooves both on the top and the bottom into which we insert this crossbar. And in order to connect 2 tables, insert it and fixed it. See? What do you think she is doing? Correct, it's to connect another table. To process large format tiles longer than 1 meter 80. Typically, these are slab formats measuring 220 by 160 meters. 220 refers to fairly large samples from the width of the slab, which can be placed on 2 joined tables, which will form a length of 3 meters 60 centimeters. Therefore, it is understandable. Each table comes with 2 such parts to connect the tables. Accordingly, when you have 2 tables, you have 2 parts that help, or rather 4 connecting elements, in order to connect the 2 tables very securely. They also serve to gather this brush from elongated profiles and transport it compactly. In the photo, you can see how compact and convenient it is. These are the little things that create the overall impression. What else should be noted? Look, I'm applying pressure, meaning there are no parasitic vibrations from the table. While working, you see, even with striking movements and with considerable force, I try to shift it in different projections, and it does not have parasitic oscillations. Why is this important? During tile processing, especially when we want to make precise cuts, precise corner joints, we need to precisely polish the angle and such. Work requires quite precise hand movements and a stable surface on which you are working. You know, in metalworking quite often, there are special tables that are polished to a 0 level, allowing for precise and accurate assembly of components. Accordingly, this table meets the parameters for high precision work, meaning it can be used to create small architectural forms such as sinks, joining corners and imitating natural stone, especially when we have a transition of the pattern, is much easier due to the stability of the table. We've sorted that out. Now regarding the strength of the profile. Take note, I weigh 100 kilograms. I sit on one profile, but it bends, maybe 10 millimeters by 1.5. That is, each profile has a fairly good strength reserve, as you can see. And this allows us to count on any situation, perhaps, when it might be necessary to stand up to the table. Despite being aluminum and lightweight, the trapezoidal geometry of the visible profile still boasts a high-strength reserve, a specially designed profile with a width of 120 millimeters to ensure maximum contact with the tile. It also contributes to increased work comfort. The next functional feature, which by the way is also included with the desk, are these brackets. These brackets can be used in pairs, meaning in this case they are installed on the left and right to allow for the placement of a guide rail, which we use for cutting with a carbide roller, or any measuring instruments that we use during tile processing. Similarly, these brackets can be used for holding angle grinders in such a way using their protective cover. It happens quite quickly and conveniently when we need to repeatedly switch between cutting, grinding, or drilling operations. We see two profiles installed, the lower ones. They serve to create a shelf if we need it by placing porcelain stoneware there or whatever material that you already have available at the construction site, so you don't need to bring it separately. They also increase rigidity and avoid those parasitic oscillations I told you about. Therefore, it is a convenient element. In most cases, I recommend using it, but if you don't need it, you don't always have to take it with you. Let's move on to the sliding elements. I will show you how it works. You quickly start timing how I can transform your table from 1 meter wide to 1 meter. 25 in this case. That is quite easily. I extended these elements and clamped them. I immediately clamp the extended element. That's how it is. Then I can choose which profile arrangement option will be optimal for me. So the basic one is like this. Next, if we understand that the cutting zone will be somewhere in this area, if it's a carbide roller and pressure is applied, we can take that profile, which will actually apply the load, and move it closer. Or now I will show you an example of a profile that is located nearby. That is, primarily, the profile has a fairly large range of movement so that you can choose the optimal one for your case. The next position is already on the extended element. Also, we can move within a wide range. And the next option is that we can place two profiles closely together and secure them with screws. By the way, I draw your attention to how quickly the screws tighten. These are quality wing nuts. I just started them. This is the main problem with each tightening. But after that, notice I started it. One twist and the screw is practically fixed. We just need to tighten it. And we have two profiles right next to each other. Let's move another one here. And we have a very nice work surface for processing small size blanks. Likewise, making cuts in any position convenient for us. Let's lay it out. Now, I will still rearrange the profile further so that we understand how much our dimensions actually increase when we extend two elements from one side and the other. By the way, the entire table is 80% made of aluminum. Therefore, its total weight is up to 36 kilograms. Of course, we might, for example, forget to bring some small components to the site, such as the lower ones, like these crossbars, such as the small details that extend the table when we don't need them. And in this way, we can reduce the weight of this table, but this is standard. However, considering that it has super high rigidity without parasitic oscillations, and that it measures 1.5 meters, let's not forget, this weight is super cool in my opinion. Yes, we are extending the elements, another part of the table. Quite quickly, as we can see, we fix these elements. The wonderful thing is that when extending these elements, nothing gets stuck. All these elements are designed in such a way that they freely move when the table is extended. However, at the same time, they provide sufficient rigidity to allow work to be done on this element. Look, I'm creating pressure probably up to 20 kilograms with my weight. We don't have such deflections. Now let's check on the plane. This is an aluminum profile. Overall, precise. Note, I will now turn it this way to make it more visible. I have installed the profile on the edge from that side and on the edge from this side. It is perfectly level with us. This is very important, especially considering that the table has an extendable design, particularly when we are processing the slab with a thickness of 6 millimeters or less. It is very important that it lies level to prevent any unwanted cracks from forming during operation. Similarly, I can demonstrate this feature to you. In the center of the table, the profile, which is fixed here, can be installed in this central position for which it is designed, the hole. I'll show you a little closer. So we have a central hole so that we had symmetry during assembly. But if you need to shift it, you can move it apart to the left or right, or still leave it in the center as a reference point and only draw the profiles that are located on the sides. And I draw your attention to the fact that I twist quickly. A few seconds, that's it, the profile is firmly fixed. Next, in the transverse steel elements, which are made of 4 millimeter steel, we can see these kinds of holes, which additionally create improvements when, for example, water gets here. This water drains very easily through these holes without lingering in the profile. Some people like to cut with water, so this can be implemented quite easily. The legs are removed very quickly, and everything is dismantled very quickly. The total time to completely disassemble or assemble the table is only up to 15 minutes. Of course, once you've assembled it once or twice, you'll be able to do it much faster in the future. So friends, leave your comments on what matters to you and what we might have missed. However, my opinion, which is based on communication with tilers, is that this table satisfies all the essential and basic needs that sometimes arise during the processing of porcelain stoneware. Therefore, every thought of yours is important. Write in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the bell to watch our videos on time and not miss any updates. See you. Everything will be D-star.